It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Agronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 556. Tonight I'm joined by Ashgar.
Hello.
Kodra.
I am once again a bunny.
Damn.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hi there.
We lost the majority of our A's in a cruel sense of fate, but we will push forward. So this is like, I kind of threw this on here just because I found it hilarious. One of the things about, facing potential death is it tends to make you more creative. And as a result, I decided I've been wanting to reboot Bel Folks Stuff. And there was a whole episode that I recorded that I never released with Tam that's pre-pandemic.
Oh boy.
So I released this, and my God, does it seem weird to listen to it? Because, it is... And I also go back and listen to the one that I recorded with Ace, and we were happier people pre-pandemic.
It's back when we still had hope.
Yeah.
Optimism.
It's pretty wild. It was a good conversation. I'm glad I recorded it. And I remember why I never released it. Do you remember when I had that annoying ass coil whine thing going on with my mic? And this is several years ago, and I finally fixed it at some point. But yeah, this was, I think, the episode that made me realize that, this is a really bad thing. Because every time I talked, you would get squeals. But yeah, it was interesting, to go back and listen through it. It was a Bel and Tam conversation, like most Bel and Tam conversations end up.
It's true. I was like, did I say anything dumb?
No. It was I listened to it on Friday, and the majority of that conversation could have happened today, other than the fact that you've gone through some pretty sweeping life changes since we recorded it.
It's true. Sort of surprisingly consistent despite that.
Yeah, no, it's you highlighted Thief, the Dark Project, like we all knew you would, and it's a thing. And I think the other thing that you really highlighted was Gone Home. And I had not thought about Gone Home in a while.
Oh man, I still recommend people.
It was a great game.
It's a great game. It's also...
I actually pulled it out and replayed it not that long ago.
It's also a great game to learn how to play games on.
Yeah, because there's no stakes.
Yeah.
Just wander around and look for stuff. And, but it's also this nostalgic time capsule of a specific time period.
Yeah.
If you've not played Gone Home, I suggest you play Gone Home. We've talked about it at length multiple times on this show.
And it's still very good.
I think wasn't it one of the AggroChat Game Club games?
It was.
It was.
Yeah.
A thing for which there are listeners that don't even remember that is a thing.
Oh,
It's been a while.
it's been a while.
And then this week I found out somebody else was doing the nonsense thing of going back to the start and listening all the way up.
I mean,
Don't do that thing.
I'm currently doing that with a podcast that is about as old as ours and releases weekly, but also that podcast is better edited than ours.
True.
I feel like most are.
Yeah, no,
It's edited.
I think I do 3 things and then push it out there into the world. Okay, Tam, this one got bumped from the previous, or actually I think it was bumped from a week that you weren't here. Building an infinity table.
Yeah, so this has been a project that I have started and stopped so many times. Enough times that it's genuinely kind of embarrassing. Because I play a lot of minis games, and infinity is more involved, let's say, on the terrain side than most. If you want to play most minis games, if you wanted to play War Machine, you'd plop down a couple of things on the table. If you want to play 40k, all right, you've got a whole bunch of little L's because the 40k loves L-shaped ruins. It's just the vibe. But Infinity wants a much more involved table. Like there's just a lot to it. Like you want
Well, Infinity wants verticality and line of sight and things like that, right?
Yeah, and lots of cover and so the tables are dense by almost any standards. They look really cool. I've always wanted to put one together. But the problem is that like any minis thing, a lot of times you have to put together you have to find the terrain, and then you have to assemble the terrain, and then you have to paint the terrain. And because the terrain is all big, it's just a lot of paint coverage you have to figure out. And I have tried multiple times over the years to actually do this and have failed every time. Most recently, I basically donated almost an entire table's worth of terrain to my local community because I'd never even gotten around to building it. But I'm starting to play a bunch more Infinity, and I want a lot of the people that I want to play with, like, we just don't have a table. And so this has been my project for a bit, has been, okay, how do I put together a table that I'm actually going to finish? And it turns out that lots of other people have this problem too. And so now you can get pre-painted terrain. And, it costs a small premium, but honestly, especially given that several of these are they're color printed. It's just MDF, the same MDF that we've been making terrain with for years, but they're color printed MDF. And so you just assemble it and you're done, and they look amazing. And that's finally been it's finally gotten me to assemble almost an entire table. I have a few things. I'm at the point where I'm filling in gaps and making little things. The local terrain purveyor doesn't do they do buildings, and their buildings are great, but they don't really do street stuff. And if you're making a city, you need something to put on the roads. So I've been getting cars and buses and stuff from one of the original Infinity terrain manufacturers. So I'm getting to live out I always wanted a terrain table by MicroArt Studio, and so this terrain table now is pretty significantly MicroArt Studio stuff. But it's just such an interesting. It's different from the normal assembly that I'm doing, and it's just fun to make little buildings. They have a lot of personality. They just feel cool. It brings me back to, I did a whole thing where I was level designing and trying to figure out what buildings I need and how to put it all together is this sort of interesting level design problem. It's how do I fill this space in a functional way that's modular so I can do different stuff. So it's trying to hit the right amount of density without having too much. But the other thing is Infinity's been doing some updated events, and one of the events from when I was just leaving the game was a faction split. One part of a faction had left their faction and become their own separate group. And it's actually interesting because they have pretty good writing a lot of the time. And one of the things that shook out that they keep on returning to is, okay, so yes, this faction did split. The Japanese secessionist army did split from Greater Yujing, but that doesn't mean that they just gave up all of their cities. So there's a city that's a hotspot now. That's a Yujing city that had primarily Japanese citizens in it. And now it's an occupied city, but it's got a lot of valuable stuff in it, which is why they didn't want to give it up. And now it's this hotspot for fighting. And it's just an interesting, it's an interesting space. And I've read a book about it. And that's what my table is themed around.
Nice.
Which has been fun to do. And there's a bunch of really cool descriptions about how this used to be a city with a lot of Japanese architecture, but then, the standard, they tore down a lot of the traditional buildings and put up some, but not all of the traditional buildings, and put up the Yujing prefabricated standard buildings. But then as the city has moved back and forth as far as who's in control of it, those buildings have graffiti on them, or there's art painted on them to suggest that it's being reclaimed, and it's just an interesting. It's a space that they've made very interesting, and I just thought it'd be fun. It's been fun to make that space. But yeah, it's just been a fun project to work on. It's satisfying a thing that I've wanted for some time.
I always kind of assumed Affinity really wanted more of a Mordheim type table.
Yeah, that's a very good description. Especially this edition. Like this edition is the mobility edition, and so there's a lot of like just the way I think about tables is very different. There was a time where when I played Infinity, I could count the number of times I had heard somebody even talk about using super jump on one hand, and now it's like every game or every other game because they made it fun and they put it on a bunch of stuff, and so now it's like, oh no, it's actually super cool to super jump everywhere. Turns out that's really cool. Yeah, Mordheim table is about right. Because I would have said Necromunda table, but Necromunda tables don't want quite as much density. They want a lot of density, but not like quite that much.
Yeah. The Rabbit and Steel has an expansion?
It has an expansion. It is free, despite everything I expected.
It's so far
It's called
quite
Extra
fun.
Mode. It has beaten me up a few times now.
This is, if you've forgotten, the game in which you play Final Fantasy XIV raid game as bunnies in a bullet hell shooter.
And they added significantly more bullet hell elements. Like a lot more bosses have attacks that actually have the same sort of maybe fit between the pattern things going on.
I've only done 2 bosses now, the cat and the bird, and I think the cat is much worse.
I think the cat is terrible. The cat is not my least favorite. My least favorite is the sub-boss of the third area, but the cat is right next there.
Have you beaten the third area then?
I have beaten all of the areas and the final boss of this.
Okay. You've cleared your way through. There's no new classes, right?
There are new classes.
Oh, there are. Do I just need to unlock those somehow?
They just need to be unlocked by beating bosses in extra mode.
Aha. Have you played any of the new classes?
I have not. I haven't unlocked any of them yet because I haven't had a ton of success beating bosses in extra mode.
This is reasonable. Reasonable.
Okay, this is a game I did not expect to see on this list. Is this part of your revisiting of Super Nintendo era games?
Sorta.
Ys is older than that.
This is actually me griping about Lagoon, which is, very much came from Ys prospect.
I think I mentioned on the podcast when I saw you playing Lagoon, I'd asked if you played Ys.
Yeah.
Because it very much looked like it was trying to be that game.
Yeah, I don't know that Ys ever got a Nintendo game. I don't think we got it until Super Nintendo, but it was a PC Engine game originally, I think.
Yeah, it came out on TurboGrafx as well.
Mm-hmm. But Ys was like, I remember a friend of mine had Ys 2 on, I think maybe on an Apple computer. It might have been a DOS PC, but it was like the late 80s.
Yeah, it's old. And there's it has a compelling if very fragile Steam release.
Referring to the Ys 1+2 thing.
Yeah.
MS-DOS.
But it's interesting to see, like, I have a better context. I definitely have better context for Lagoon playing Ys, but I get both what Lagoon was trying to do and sort of why I think it kind of failed at it. But it really is just basically trying to be Ys. And that was just it was just a gap in my game experience. I'd heard of that game, but I'd never actually paid any attention to it.
There's also a game, I think this is also a PC Engine game, called Newtopia.
That one I'm at least not aware of.
Yeah, I don't even know that one.
Yeah, it was a PC Engine TurboGrafx game.
But they're definitely like the early action RPGs, by which I mean, like, not Diablo-like, but this is an RPG that's not turn-based. And I hadn't realized that they went back quite that far.
More isometric beat 'em up.
But with everything that makes an RPG an RPG.
Yeah.
Like, in a way that Zelda isn't.
Right.
Because Zelda doesn't have leveling up or stats or any of those things, whereas these definitely do.
Yeah, your character actually improves over time, not just the gear that you're using.
Right. And it's like I don't super have a lot to say about the storyline or anything, because it's a hero, pick up all of these things and defeat the dark one. Like it's like a little bit more complex than that, but not like a ton.
I mean, find all the books. Yeah.
But was interesting because when I saw it, I had seen like the box art for it and had just thought like, oh well, this is a PlayStation era RPG. And I think they did release some in the PlayStation era.
They did.
But I always thought that Ys was a PlayStation era game series because like the core box art has a bunch of naked people on it. And I was just like, that's not like, so okay, we're talking at least late night, probably. But no, it comes before that.
Yeah, Ys 1 and 2 were released like Super Famicom years. And the 1+2, that is the entire first game, was released in 1989 for PC Engine / TurboGrafx. And that's the version that's on Steam as like Ys 1+2 or whatever it is.
Yeah. And I can tell that the Steam version is a more modern version. I went and looked up like, what is the original?
Yeah, it doesn't look the same anymore.
No. But it's just interesting to see. And like, it's also really cool to me to see there's a certain dedication to a particular type of artistry that they're really, really into. Those games have great music. It's like one of the things about Lagoon even. Like Ys has great music. Lagoon has the thing that I can say about Lagoon is that it has good music. And it's really interesting that was such a focus.
And I think maybe the series started on the PC-88 series of computers.
Right.
Yeah, the very first one. Yeah.
Because like this is a whole series of computers that the West doesn't even know exist for the most part.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I was at. Like, what is a PC-88? I don't know what that is.
I mean,
it's very recognizable as like a normal PC. Like it had its own DOS-like loading system, and I think it like really, really had like a lot of super detailed RPGs on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, because like Ultima and Wizardry made it over to Japan, early on, and so there's this whole branch of Japanese RPGs that descend from those.
Yeah,
and particularly the ones that you would find on the PC. Yeah.
Well, and it's such an interesting. The other part of it that I find really interesting is that there's also some amount of like, hold on, Final Fantasy. Your whole like, what was the limitation that Final Fantasy was dealing with that they like? It was obvious that Final Fantasy wanted to be real time, but wasn't. Like, what happened? Because it feels like it should be.
And probably the memory limitations of the Nintendo console.
Yeah, like what an interesting twist to that story where actually these other games were doing that thing, but it took Final Fantasy a while to get there.
Final Fantasy has definitely been through a number of weird systems. But so is Ys.
It's true.
They shifted in the, I want to say, PlayStation era to be a primarily 3D game and became a different type of action RPG, not Diablo-like still, that sort of became the model for other games to follow again, just in a different way.
Okay, and then Highlight came before Ys and was doing the same sort of thing.
Yeah, but Highlight isn't good.
Well, yes. Just when we're talking about these sorts of games.
But yeah, it's fun to, I don't know, it's been fun to hop into some of these things and just see. Because like I keep on being like, oh, I'm gonna load up Donkey Kong Country, or oh, I'm gonna load up, I don't know, Super Mario World or Mega Man X, but like those are all games I've played a zillion times, and I'm kind of curious, like, what are these things that I haven't? What are the gaps in my games that I could have, like games that could have been formative, but I just wasn't in the right place at the right time for? Because there's probably a lot of them.
Well, there's a lot of these games that I only played because the local grocery store had video game rental club cards where you could like get one for the summer and you could only have like one game out at a time, but you could just keep going back and getting new games forever during the course of the summer. So like I played so many games just because I'd get one of those, and if I didn't like it, I'd go right back to the store and trade it in and get something else.
Yeah, our local video store did PC game rentals. That was always like seems like a bad idea, guys, actually.
And there's also the whole Dragon Slayer series that mostly didn't make it over here, apart from Faxanadu.
Yeah.
And
I think is mostly available in various forms now.
There's also Legacy of the Wizard, which is like one of my favorite games.
That's one of the Dragon Slayer. That's
yeah.
So that one
very different than Faxanadu though.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's right. That one did make it over here.
Yeah, that was like more. What if Golden Axe were a platformer Metroidvania kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
I really liked Faxanadu. I was always kind of bummed that we didn't get any of the direct follow-ups to that game.
Yeah. Like I don't know why I got that game, but I did and I loved it.
Yeah, there are a whole bunch of games. There's like a long list of games that I was really bad at as a kid because I just like they didn't explain how to play them. Like they explained rules, but rules are not the same as how do you play this. And so I like was really bad at them because they only told me what the rules were. They didn't tell me how the game was played or supposed to be played. And like coming back to a bunch of those has been really interesting. It's like I'm a lot better at intuiting what that is, what that's supposed to be now.
I mean, if you've never done this, you should do the same on the Genesis / Mega Drive because there were a lot of really great games that never got much love.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like, yeah, the Genesis is one of the ones. The Genesis and the Mega Drive both are like, oh, huh, that's fascinating. There's a whole bunch of stuff on here that.
Because like Exile, I think is the name of it. It's kind of doing an ease thing, sort of, but with just much, much bigger sprites. I don't know how much I have to say on this topic, other than the fact it's a thing. But Lord did Ashes of Increation just implode over, like I think it was a 52-day period on Steam, and now it no longer exists and has been pulled from Steam. And yeah, it's been wild. And like this is one of the really big Kickstarter games that just kept trucking along, and then all of a sudden is no more.
It does seem like maybe they were trying to get a Kickstarter out the door or a Steam release out the door so they wouldn't have to pay people back for failing the Kickstarter.
Yeah, but like I don't know that promise was actually legally binding in the first place.
Sure.
No, like probably not.
But yeah, like it does feel like they rushed it to a Steam release.
There's a whole
that
bunch
hopefully
of
get some more money.
Weird questions from this.
And it supposedly didn't have any kind of board making decisions for it, but now it suddenly has a board.
Who's this board?
Yeah, it's just so much weird stuff. Like I feel for the folks that got caught off and now are looking for a job in this less than stellar job market in games.
As somebody working in the space, I'm nervous. Making online games, making online RPGs feels cursed right now.
But also I feel like this kind of goes back to the whole, like, you can't make a game that requires a large number of players, but hyper focuses a specific demographic. Like, I think there's room to have very niche things, but they also need to require small groups of people.
Yeah, it's a really interesting, like, what is it we want from an MMO now or something? Like, I can tell you what I wanted from an MMO in the 2000s, but I don't know that it's this. But I could tell you for me, it's not the same anymore. And I think for most people, it's not the same anymore. But we You just like
Yeah.
don't know what the new thing is.
Well, I was watching a video the other day that was loosely connected to this Ashes of Creation thing, and raised a very cogent point that like a lot of the early MMOs were mostly just chat rooms with a game wrapped around it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was the online interactivity that was the novel thing, not the game itself.
Is this the Josh Strife Hayes about?
It might have been. It might have been. Yeah.
Because I watched that about this topic.
It might have been the Josh Strife Hayes video. I've watched a bunch of videos on this, but like that was the thing that really stuck out to me was the whole. Yeah, no, I mean it was the online interactivity was the novel piece, and now we have online interactivity everywhere.
I would like less online interactivity.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because like the point of that video was sort of that we like the other problem is everyone keeps trying to make games that are not necessarily pro-social, and so that's also a problem. Like this is the problem of all of your games being open world PvP.
Yeah.
I mean, like, don't do that.
People keep doing that.
I understand all of the things that get people to keep doing that, and also don't do that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we've had a version of this conversation, but like there's a mindset that if only you see what I see, you'll want to play the thing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and okay, this was the thing. Here's how it happens, right? You get, if you're building a game, if you're building an online game, you are going to get core interactions in the vein of you're going to get core interactions in the vein of what's the word I'm looking for? You're going to get core interactions in the vein of player doing stuff, like player verbs, before you have PvE, before you have creatures, before you have mobs with interesting AI, whatever. You're going to have player functionality, and that's going to be the first thing that comes up. And what's going to happen is your systems team is going to say, well, we don't have functional creatures. Let's just let players fight each other, and that'll be a good test of our systems, because we need something to fight, and we need it to be at least somewhat interesting, and we don't have creature AI yet. So let's do that. And sure, that works. But then what you get are a bunch of people who are like, oh man, this is so fun. We should make a game mode out of this. Because when it's the 100 people in one studio and you don't have people like when there's nobody to make a hobby out of griefing everybody else in the office because that would get them fired. You do have a conceptually great, healthy PvP community.
Yeah, I mean, and this goes back to like I remember working in an office where we ran whatever the shooter du jour of the day was. We ran a server in office, and we would play on it over lunch. And the societal pressure of don't be an asshole kept people from being too griefy. Like you were picked upon if you were that guy. Like there was a sales guy that wanted to win so bad that he would literally firebomb his own team. And it became basically like anytime someone did that, we would say it was doing like whatever that guy's last name was. Like, so, you know, he lived in infamy because of his take on the game, and it kept other people from doing it. Like that doesn't exist in the real world.
Yeah. And yeah, if we the members of AggroChat played in an open world PvP game that was just us all playing together, it'd be fine.
I just don't understand why you don't look at that and be like, yeah, PvP is fun. Let's make sure that we have a fun way for people to do PvP and not make it the like open world thing. Because as soon as it's the open world thing, you just expose yourself to such a huge risk.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like at least some of it these days is the folks who have had this idea for decades. And if, people had just listened to them and done it their way, it would have worked. And now they've got the backing and they're trying it. And then it doesn't work. But I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, Ashes of Creation was exactly that. It is the quote-unquote game that Stephen Sharif always wanted to see. And sure, like, it was a game, but the other problem that I have with Ashes of Creation is the price points at which that it took to get into that game seemed egregious and limited. I don't know how to say this. Basically, the only people that were going to be willing to pay for early access to that game were people who would likely become an acolyte of the game because they spent all this money and therefore
sunk costs.
Sunk cost fallacy. Like I think I backed it for like maybe $30 and I never got into the game ever. I was so far down the totem pole in the list of people getting invites that who knows when I ever would have gotten access to the game. And as a result, there just weren't enough people vetting the ideas that were not already 100% bought into it.
Yeah, you've got this very like yes man situation.
Yeah, you get that reinforcing feedback loop, and yeah.
And it's one of the things that's really interesting about Star Citizen is there are a lot of people who bought in for a very regular price and who have been able to follow it and play it and are very much expressing their opinions. And like, there's a big war in the community and that's like extending into the development side where they're realizing that they're starting to realize that like, oh wait, this is a problem that we're not solving. What do we do about this? And it'll be interesting to see if it's too little too late.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Ashes of Creation unintentionally learned the lesson that you can't build an entire game around whales. Not really.
Or if you do, like, yeah, I think you're right. Because I was just thinking, like, Where Winds Meet is a game. But it's fundamentally different in the sense that they're counterbalancing the fact that they've built this game for whales by just absolutely not caring about the low end. And as a result, it's actually a very positive experience on the low end because they don't care they don't care about your money. Like, sure, you might give them some money and they're cool with that. And so it doesn't feel like they're putting the screws in you.
Yeah, they've lowered the barrier to entry there. And as a result, the gameplay is being tested by a wide audience, not just the folks that are 100% bought in.
Yeah. And, I wonder if that's going to lead into a model of maybe you don't keep your game so tightly under wraps until like 6 months before release, because by then it's too late to pivot. Because I think if New World had done some better focus testing, they sure wouldn't have had that first alpha.
Well, and like, I think, I don't know, on some level, I feel like the way to build a modern MMORPG is to start very small and build out from there.
Yeah.
Like, very core. So, like, if you imagine World of Warcraft, but what if you only got the first 2 zones of the human starter area and then built out from there and then released more content over time, instead of, here's all these systems that we have to have at launch.
Yeah, exactly. I always think, who didn't have any meaningful PvP in their game when it launched? World of Warcraft.
I feel like there are people who'd be really mad at you about that.
But I don't know what argument they would have. Like, Vanilla WoW you could flag for PvP, I guess.
You could flag for PvP.
It had PvP servers where you were always flagged.
Sure. But there was no meaningful exchange there. There was no metagame. There was no currency. There was no progression. It was like, yeah, you could gank this guy, I guess. And yeah, people did, and people did that, but it wasn't like meaningful.
Well, and the whole Grandmaster community thing was so small as compared to the rest of the game.
Yeah,
Like,
but like
did they
Grandmaster
launch
didn't
with
exist when the
Warsong
game
Gulch?
launched.
Yeah, like once
No,
when
they
the
did
honor,
not.
that honor system like that wasn't in the when the game launched. Like they added
Like
that later.
the honor system in WoW was like patch 1.4.
Something like that, yeah. 2.0.
No, 2.0 was Burning Crusade.
No, you're right. No, that's just changes to it.
Like they had raids.
Wow, that was April of the next year.
Mhm.
Yeah, Marudon was before the PvP system.
Yeah.
Gurubashi Arena did not launch.
That's actually a surprise to me.
Oh yeah.
Gurubashi Arena was 1.2, not the Gurubashi Arena with a reward.
Yeah.
Just the open world.
Yep.
You can go in
yeah.
here and fight people.
Yeah, the version with the chest that went in with the honor at the same time as the honor system, and yeah, it was 1.4. The call to war. But yeah, like up to that point, there was you didn't get anything for PvPing. Like people did it if they wanted to, but you didn't get anything for doing it.
But yeah, like, and that's why I'm like, I think you can wait what 6 months to put anything even resembling a PvP system in. And like the honor system when it went in was just get points for fighting people.
Yep.
It wasn't Warsong Gulch or any of that. It wasn't any game mode. It was
because those didn't go on until the following patch. That's when they
it was South Shore versus Terran Mill bloodbaths.
Yep.
From Held at Breakfast. But yeah, like, and I think about that a lot. It's like I don't think you need it. Provably.
I just don't think that you're ever going to get enough PvP players to pin the hopes of an entire game on it.
Yeah, or you're just gonna, or if you can, but you need to keep your scope really, really, really small. You're not gonna have a big, expansive open world with lots and lots of people.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. This is what Arc Raiders and Rust are doing, kind of, right? And those are games that some people play.
And I think it's really like Rust is definitely the extreme version of that, but I find it really telling that Arc Raiders has course corrected from actually it turns out this is a problem, we should do something about this. And like, at this point they probably don't have the ability to go with the nuclear option and just have the offline mode or the friends only mode or the PvE mode, but they sure are trying. And like, I don't know, the reports I've heard and from what I've played and seen, which isn't a ton since it's rolled out, like their aggression-based matchmaking is actually shockingly good. I'm like, I don't think that's a universally applicable solution nor a perfect one, but I think it's telling that they felt the need to address it.
Man, I'll buy it as soon as they put a PvE mode in.
I regret not like hopping in to at least see what they were doing with Ashes of Creation.
I mean, I would have been happy to test it, if my $30 would have gotten me access to it.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly willing to drop $100 to see. I'm not happy to have been right about it.
And that's the thing that's so weird about it is from the outside of someone not in that community, it looked like it was more or less functional, trying to actually be good at Star Trek Online.
So you remember there was that era of like 2010s-ish MMOs that were doing the have a lifetime subscription thing, and like a bunch of them were made by Cryptic and so on. And I had bought into Champions.
Yeah.
And at one point, something went awry with my Champions account. And I like tried to log back in and couldn't. And I was like, yo, this is ridiculous. I'm a lifetime subscriber. Like, I wasn't super excited about this game and didn't have high hopes to return, but like the fact that I can't at all is nonsense. Like, what gives? Please fix. And I don't know, something was awful with that. And they were like, we can either we'll try to restore your account, but in the meantime, we're so sorry, we would like to offer you equal value in something else. They also run Star Trek Online. So I got a lifetime subscription to Star Trek Online.
Probably a better deal.
Which, that's a game that's been quietly plugging away for the last decade more.
Yeah. I have a coworker who's pretty into it.
There's just, I hop in, I'll try some stuff. They're getting better and better at doing missions that actually feel fun and interesting, and they aren't kind of samey grinds. They're really they're kind of aping the Lord of the Rings model, where it's Lord of the Rings Online as a game is kind of all right. It's fine. It's not gonna win any gameplay awards, but what it is if you are a giant Tolkien nerd, that game has so much for you. And Star Trek Online is that, but for Star Trek nostalgia. If you just love Star Trek stuff, it's got so much Star Trek stuff for you that it would like you to take a look at. And I don't know, some of it's fun, it's neat. But what it does have is a totally unique combat system that is deeper and more complex than any other game of its type, even the ones that it's based on. Because you're flying a starship. It's not it's movement and broadsides and it's ship battles. And there's just a lot of that's just a very different gameplay style that I'm used to, and it's kind of fun to go back to because it is just so different. They've got a bajillion different ships. They have a bazillion different ships. Lots and lots and lots of different ways to play them. And I don't know, there's just cool and deep ideas for, Sid Meier's Pirates it's basically Sid Meier's Pirates, but Sid Meier's Pirates doesn't have the same depth and variety in, Pirates of the Caribbean. And so it's just a different, what else is there to do in this system? And one of the things that I've run into is it will get quite hard, actually. They are very happy to make it a very challenging, these are ships doing a lot of things, and there's a lot of different mechanics to learn and figure out. And I recently booted up, and okay, I'm going to try to actually understand this and not just face roll my way through this game like I have been doing. What does that take? It turns out that it takes, if you want to do it a sensible way, it takes not doing any of the things that I've been doing for the last decade. Most notably, if you've got, there's basically 3 classes of ships. I don't know, that's oversimplifying. You can have a tactical, science, or engineering focus, and there's a bunch of different ships of different types that kind of work within that type of those broad categories. Tactical is pretty straightforward. You shoot people with weapons. Engineering, also pretty straightforward. Rather than just being really good at shooting people with weapons, you're really, really good at making... You're really good at tuning your stuff up and getting a lot of juice out of the weapons you have. So a tactical ship will have lots of weapons, but an engineering build will have lots of tools and debuffs and self-heals and self-buffs and various things to just get a ton of value out. I picked science. Science is, do you want to do technobabble?
Reversing a lot of polarities.
I mean, ridiculous nonsense. I'm gonna create anomalies. Anomalies do things. Sometimes anomalies do things in conjunction with one another. I've decided to make this more problematic for myself by being a temporal operative. So in addition to science nonsense with anomalies, I'm also doing time nonsense. It's a whole thing. This is an incredibly complicated and very expensive as far as things you need to make it actually work, because you're basically a space wizard at that point. I'm doing space wizard things. But I do have the coolest particle effects in the game. I have an unparalleled ability to annoy my teammates with the amount of nonsense I can put on the screen at one time. And like, I've actually taken the time to kind of understand what I'm doing now, as opposed to just hitting all of my buttons and hoping things are dead before I'm dead. But like, the build that I'm currently doing is known as a Sci-Torp build, because it's science nonsense and torpedoes. And basically, I'm using torpedoes to create explosions that create problems with the anomalies that I'm setting off. So I'm basically setting up all of these chain reactions, and I'm predicated on like, all of this is predicated on pulling enemies into an area and then lighting them on fire, basically. It's very satisfying when it works, and very fragile. But that's what the time stuff is for, because I can just be like, you know what? Time rewind. That didn't happen. Please put me back a little ways ago, because that went badly. But it's just interesting. It's been really interesting to me to see like the depth of the system. It's really hard to parse, but like, now that I'm parsing it, I'm like, oh, okay. Here's my defensive layer. Here are my fundamental combos. I need like one of the core consoles that I have, like, your ships, you have some amount of abilities, but your ship's abilities are actually super customizable, which I think is really neat. You basically install consoles on slots which give you abilities, and you want to use those abilities in conjunction. And then on top of that, your bridge officers have abilities which they use. And so you can really customize your suite of abilities based on this combination of consoles and bridge officers. But it also means that like, coming up with a build and understanding what the components of a good build are difficult. Because it's not like, oh, this is a tank ship, I'm going to do tank things in it. It's like, well, this ship has these slots and these bridge officer positions, so you can do these things with it. But yeah, I've actually bumped it up to the hardest difficulty at this point, because I like, my builds come together, and it only, I've been slowly putting it together for a long time. It's like, oh, my build is actually working. And so I can, when everything's going off, it's like, oh, stuff is just melting.
Nice.
Melting ships under my like horrendous black hole generator firestorm Genesis seed nonsense. And it's really satisfying. It's just cool to like, okay, I've decided to actually be good at this. What does this look like? And now it's like, oh, now I'm like, okay, now that I understand this, I kind of want to build some other ships and understand them too, because I get the fundamentals now.
I'm pretty sure you're canonically doing war crimes.
Oh my god, the things that, like, just the descriptions of the consoles I have are problems. Like, there's entire Star Trek movies based, or like, where the plot is somebody came up with this awful device and we need to do something about it. And I have like 6 of them installed on this ship.
Yikes.
It's not okay. Whatever I'm doing in here is not okay. But hey, it's really not okay for the people I'm fighting. Like, I have a console that's like, oh yeah, this is like a space-time portal generator to the Badlands. So I'm just gonna like rip open a hole and make the Badlands happen. And like, the Badlands are terrible. It's not a good thing. But it works great. It causes a large number of problems for everybody around.
Details.
But in the meantime, I'll hop into random groups with people, and I'll see what other people are doing, and the stuff that other people are doing also looks fascinating. Like, I'm a lumbering whale of a ship. I do not go fast or turn fast or anything. But there's ships that are like, I see people in little zippy, smaller ships that are like, it feels unreal how fast they are. And that's also cool.
Yeah, I think when that game came out, I expected it to be more about mission of the week, where like I take my crew down to planets and run missions with them. Not my ship is my character.
Yeah, and like, there's a bit of that too. I'm not actually good at the ground stuff.
So like as you were talking about this, I've been sitting here visualizing something, and I think I know the MMO that I really want. My favorite aspect of Mass Effect 2 was running around doing missions with my crew. So imagine you've got a starship and it's a gacha game, and you end up unlocking enough characters through the play of the story to fill all the spots in your ship. But as banners come up, you can find more interesting characters, and you run little away missions with them, and you can sub players in for them, or you can do AI missions. And it's about collecting as many people on your ship as you can and run little missions with them.
Yeah, I can see that. There's a little bit of that in Star Trek Online as far as your bridge officers and your greater crew, because it's not, your crew is not just your bridge officers, it's also like people you assign, people you have on your ship who are like doing various jobs. And they do have random packs and sometimes promo packs and so forth. Like I've got the lower decks crew on my ship, and they're funny. They're actually pretty useful.
I would imagine it's more akin to when you're playing Master of Orion and you hire a hero and you place them at this location.
Yeah, there's like,
and they give you some stat bonuses of some sort.
Yeah, and there's like, is it WoW's garrisons that where you had a bunch of like NPCs that would
yes
do stuff? It's like that. It's just on your ship. It's like, because there's a bunch of people on your ship, and like they've got, I don't know, jobs to do or whatever. You can do jobs there, and eventually, when you're an admiral, you can give other ships stuff to do.
Garrisons was such a cool idea for a system that completely missed the mark on how it should have worked. Like, it was fun to play through it the first time, but was absolute misery to grind up on all your alts. And if they had just made it so that garrisons were an account-wide feature, I think everybody would have universally loved that system. There was just enough tedium in it that it was painful to keep pushing it up on alts. I think that falls back to my old-fashioned argument of most things should be account-wide.
I don't entirely agree, but I do mostly agree, because like it's impossible to have any character. This is FF14 is the opposite of this. It's impossible to have a character defined to do specific things, but it's difficult to have character differentiation if everything's account-wide.
Yeah.
I feel if it's a system that is being unlocked, once you've unlocked that system, it should be that way for all your characters.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. It's like you want to get to a point where it doesn't feel like you're taking an uninteresting, repetitive step back if you're playing an alt.
Yep. Well,
it's
so I'm going
to do some of the same stuff if it's interesting.
I feel like I wonder if there isn't a way to make there be a more interesting concept to an account, like ludo narratively, like your account is more than just the collection of characters you have, but represents something more in the game.
A few games have done stuff like that. Like SWTOR did that.
Yeah.
Did it?
Yeah.
You had your legacy.
Yeah.
And you can have stuff like, Warframe, where you have one character who is all the different characters.
This is kind of what they did in Final Fantasy XIV. Like, you could theoretically ult in Final Fantasy XIV, but they also are like, the clear intention is you have one character and you could just play any class you want.
Yeah.
I could easily see an MMO that uses the conceit that you see in so many gacha games, where you are the commander of this group of, characters.
Right.
And so that's your account, is the commander. And then, the individuals that you can play individually, are under them.
I think that more or less works pretty well.
Yeah, I think STOs, going back to Star Trek, has been like part of this, just like, oh hey, what are some games that have been around for like quite a while that I never really paid close enough attention to, or like didn't fall at the right time for me to get really into them? Because there's a lot of them, and like, some of them some of the ones that are still going are actually kind of neat.
Yeah.
You know, Star Trek Online is absolutely dedicated to getting the original voice cast for any lore characters they use, which is sort of nuts. But it means that, like, I mean, it means that you never see Picard, but but like almost every other, like, there's tons of other fan favorite characters who show up and do cameos.
I mean, I think George Takei did
Yeah,
a
like,
lot of voice work for it.
George Takei does a ton of voice work in this game.
I'm pretty sure Star Trek Online is the last thing that Leonard Nimoy did work.
Yeah.
Was Spock for.
They've done good enough work with ships that more modern Star Trek shows have started canonizing the Star Trek Online ships, which I think is
pretty cool.
Which is also cool. Like the like, I haven't watched Star Trek Picard, but there's a bunch of Picard ships, since it's the same time frame. There's a bunch of Picard ships that are taken from Star Trek Online, and that's also kind of cool. It's like, oh, they're doing a good enough job with it. They're, like, I don't know, actually legit in an interesting sort of way.
And looking at the time and looking at this next topic, this is probably a show, unless anybody has anything really short.
No, the next topic is going to involve Tam saying nice things and me whining, so maybe that's not.
I just had the notion, and I have to speak this out into the world, of an MMO that's basically Power Rangers, and you're playing Zordon, and
that would be fun.
And then when you go on missions, you're playing a Power Ranger.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I mean, there was the game that we played that was sort of that. What was the name of it? Where you were essentially managing a Sentai team.
Oh, Chroma Squad?
Oh, Chroma Squad.
Chroma Squad.
That game was great.
You're managing a team of actors in that game, but yeah, it is very fun.
Yeah, I should play that game.
Well, that was a show. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.